raising chickens versus buying eggs. Now I will tell you, I was completely shocked with the results on this one. Oh my goodness, that looks so delicious. Oh,
That's really good.
Yay.
That's really good.
It's kind of like a fudge cake.
What to do when egg prices are so high, $6 a dozen. I have never seen eggs this high in my entire life. Today I'm answering the questions. Are dried eggs cheaper than buying eggs at the store? Should I go ahead and get my own chickens? And what do you do if you just have to buy eggs? I'm giving you some recipes that do not require eggs for you to make for your family today. What do we do when we can't afford eggs? And if you can't afford eggs, right now is the time when you can't afford them. Oh my goodness, $6 a dozen. First of all, here's my favorite recipe that doesn't use eggs, and they are no-bake cookies at that. This video is brought to you by our Dining on a Dime cookbook. We have quick and easy recipes your family will love to help you get in and out of the kitchen fast. Please visit us at livingonadime.com. It's 25% off now. And here is a couple of biscuit recipes that I use when I don't have any eggs. This recipe is in our Dining on a Dime cookbooks and on our website, livingonadime.com. The link is in the description below. All right, guys, this uses self-rising flour and plain yogurt. You don't want flavored yogurt. If you do not have self-rising flour, you can just add your own salt and your own baking powder, not baking soda. baking powder. And for those of you curious how to measure baking powder, you put it in here and scrape it along the side, and that's how you measure it. Then you want to whisk your flour or self-rising flour and get it all nice and fluffy. Then we are going to add in the yogurt. Now, plain yogurt is thinner than Greek yogurt, so you will need less plain yogurt than you do Greek yogurt. The recipe is in the description below. I start with 1 cup of self-rising flour and 1 cup of plain yogurt, and I see how well the dough comes together. Now, that's still very dry, so I'm going to add a little bit more yogurt here. How this works is the yogurt activates the baking powder and helps it rise. So you don't need fat or anything else in your biscuits like you normally make. Okay, so can you see how really sticky? That's really sticky, and that's looks good. Then you're going to flour your cutting board or whatever board, your countertop, whatever. Then you're going to pour your dough onto your flour. And then you're going to gently knead it until it's smooth but still sticky. You don't want it dry because then you won't have nice fluffy biscuits, okay? Now it's still just a tad too sticky, but we're almost there. And you can tell if it's too sticky if it's still sticking to your hands. So did you see how that stuck to my hands? You want it to not stick to your hands, but still be pretty moist. And I think maybe just a bit more. Yep, all right, there we go. So then we're going to pat this out all nice and neat. For your pan, you can use a regular baking pan like this. If it's a dark pan, you need to turn your heat down 25 degrees because the dark pans have a tendency to burn. So you need to turn it down 25 degrees if using a dark pan. I'm using my great-grandmother's skillet just because it's fun to use. Lightly grease your skillet, push straight down. See how I pushed straight down and I didn't twist? Push straight down. No twisting. And you're going to put them next to each other in the pan. That helps them rise taller. They hold each other up and they rise taller in the pan. Look at that. Yum. Okay. We're going to bring the dough back together. Don't work it too much. Straight down. Look at that. And then the last one probably won't cut out. Now, if you don't have a biscuit cutter, don't worry. Just take your dough and pat it into little biscuits with your hand, just like so. And it will work just fine, okay? Now, we are going to put this in a 500-degree oven. Yes, that is not a mistake. I said 500 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes. This recipe is brought to you by our Dining on a Dime cookbook. Quick and easy recipes to help you save money on your next trip to the grocery store. Visit us at livingonadime.com to get your copy today. There are your yummy, super fluffy, homemade 2-ingredient biscuits. Look at that yummy goodness right there. Ooh, hot, hot, hot. Then we're gonna put a nice blob of butter. The recipe is in the description below. Please visit us at livingonadime.com. Hello, today we are making 2-ingredient biscuits. These are super easy. It uses heavy whipping cream and self-rising flour. Yes, just 2 ingredients. Your heavy whipping cream is your fat and your milk. So that's all combined because it's the heavy whipping cream, so the fat and milk are in there. Then your self-rising flour already has your salt and your baking powder in it. But if you don't have self-rising flour, you can make your own and just put your salt and your baking powder in there. This is in the description below. I will leave the link to our website. You can find the recipe there. Then just take a whisk and fluff your flour and mix in your baking powder and salt if you don't have self-rising flour, okay? Now, you're going to take your whipping cream and you're going to start with the lowest amount. Now, this is 1 cup of flour to approximately 1 to 1.5 cups of whipping cream. Start with 1 cup and see how your dough looks. Now, if it's too dry and doesn't come together, you want to add more whipping cream. If it's too moist and just super sticky, then you want to add just a little bit more flour. Now, honestly, this looks actually almost perfect. So let me show you the consistency. Can you see how that's pretty sticky? See how it's sticking to my fingers? That's pretty sticky. Okay, so then you're going to take more self-rising flour, sprinkle it on your board, and then you're going to knead it just a bit. I mean, you don't want to knead in too much flour, so I think I already have too much flour, but just knead it in until you get a nice smooth dough, but not too smooth, or not too dry, I should say. You want it smooth but not dry, and you can still see how it's still kind of sticking to my fingers, but it's smooth. That's where you want it. All right, then just pat it out, and you're going to cut it out with your biscuit cutter. Now, if you don't have a biscuit cutter, you can pull pieces off just like so and just form your biscuit that way if you would like, okay? So you don't need a biscuit cutter or anything for this. All right, you want it about 3/4 of an inch thick, and in case you're wondering, from the end of your finger to your first knuckle is an inch. So that's about 3/4 of the way. And then just push straight down and lift up. Don't twist. See, just like that. We're gonna push down. No twisting is happening. When you twist, it pushes down the layers, and then you won't have a super fluffy biscuit. See, isn't that nice? Then just bring together the leftovers. Pat them down 1 or 2 more times. Nice. And then this one will just form a nice little biscuit. Now, for your pan, you can use a regular baking pan like this. This is a non-stick. If it's a dark pan, you will need to turn your heat down 25 degrees. Dark pans cook hotter, and so you need to turn your heat down 25 degrees. I'm using my great-grandmother's iron skillet here, and if you have a pan that needs to be greased like an iron skillet or a pan that's not a non-stick pan, just put a little bit of oil in there. I just use shortening. Or you can just put it on a piece of parchment paper or you can put it on a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper. Now we're going to put all of our biscuits in here fairly close. You want them touching because that helps them rise and it makes a nice fluffy biscuit. We're going to put this in the oven at 500 degrees. Yes, that is not a mistake. 500 degrees for just 8 to 10 minutes, and then we'll show you our yummy biscuits. This video is brought to you by our Dining on a Dime cookbook, quick and easy recipes to get you in and out of the kitchen fast and save money at the same time. Look how nice and fluffy those are. This recipe can be double, tripled, or quadrupled. Look at that fluffy goodness right there. Yum. Okay, let's break one open. Hot. Big old blob of butter. Oh, yum. Doesn't that look delicious? There you have easy 2-ingredient biscuits. The recipe is in the description below. Please visit us at livingonadime.com. Delicious goodness.
Yeah. It's really good.
Does it help soothe? So you decided you wanted some more, huh?
Why are you recording me?
Because I have to have social proof that they taste good.
Okay. That's fine. If you're recording me for that reason, then I guess that's fine.
And because you're handsome and I love you.
I'm sure. I'm gonna have to take out that part of me picking up the butter with my fingers. People are gonna get mad.
All right, I am making some biscuits to go with my barbecue meatballs. I was gonna make some dinner rolls, but I ran out of eggs. So this is a good alternative when you don't have eggs to make some biscuits. Okay, get all mixed around. All right. Then you can use margarine or butter or shortening. I'm using shortening because I need to get it used up. It also makes my biscuits fluffier. Okay, I need to make this like my grandma. So this is in our Dining on a Dime cookbook, volume 1 on page 116. I need to make my grandma's, my great grandma's recipe. Because what she used to do, she just used to have a big bowl of flour. So I'm just mixing in the shortening now, just by getting it all declumpified. And she would do a great big do a great big bowl and just leave the flour all week in there and just keep adding milk in the center. And I'm gonna have to try that sometime and see. She did use buttermilk, which this is Mike's baking powder biscuits, so I'm gonna add a little bit of vinegar to my milk to make it sour. Okay, just a little bit of milk, and just gonna sour my milk for me. Just give it just a minute to get soured. Okay. All right, and there we go. Yeah, so biscuits are a great alternative when you don't have eggs, and a good depression recipe. Okay. Close. Don't even need to flour my counter because I got it so close. Perfect. Okay. Okay, just for fun, I'm going to use this square biscuit cutter. Just thought it would be fun. And I'm making extra large biscuits this time. And there's the pheasant saying that he's ready for dinner. And here's the dog biscuit. Oops. Okay, and I'm going to throw those in the oven to bake with my barbecue meatballs. And here are the biscuits. Yum.
Which biscuit recipe was this, dear?
It was yours.
Oh, well, that's good.
You knew they were darn
I
good.
still like them. They're darn doing good. Darn
I'm going to take 2 cups of flour. And I have a little extra for kneading. Then my baking powder, not soda. They are 2 different leavening agents, so don't get them mixed up. There. And then my sugar. Now, if you don't like a slightly sweet taste to your biscuits, you don't need to add your sugar, but I do. So add that in there. And my salt right here. And we are going to get this all mixed in here. Now, here's a little note. Shortening makes your biscuits soft and fluffy, and my butter melted here. Butter makes your biscuits crispier, but people like the flavor of butter a lot. This recipe is in our Dining on a Dime Cookbook Volume 2 on page 108. And in this recipe, you can use either or, but so that I get the fluffy and the flavor both, what I do is either use butter flavored shortening, which my store didn't have any, or I do half butter and then half shortening. Grab my measuring cup. Okay, I need a half a cup, and this is a 1/3 cup measure, so I know that that's about right. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fingers and cut in my shortening and butter. I just mash it through my fingers to get the big pieces of shortening mashed into the flour. So that way I'm not dirtying another utensil, and I just do it really quick and just go through my fingers just like that. This is my homemade buttermilk. I'll show you real quick how I make it. Dining on a Dime, Volume 1, right here, page 389, the recipe for buttermilk. I also have the link in the description below for how to make homemade buttermilk. You do not have to buy buttermilk. If you have a half a cup of buttermilk, which this is 1 cup, so I only need half of this, you just need to take regular milk. Now this is full fat regular milk, okay? It was in the freezer, I just defrosted it, okay? I don't even dirty a bowl to do this. Then take your whole fat milk, your buttermilk, okay, just half of that. Then just stir it around like so. Let it sit on the counter. I love these plastic canning jar lids. I put a link in the description below. Let it sit for 24 hours and it will turn into buttermilk. By making your own homemade, it is $1, well, not even $1, about 50 to 75 cents, depending on how much your milk is. compared to, for this same amount, is $2.50 to $3 at the store. And that's all you have to do.
Did you have to shake that before you put it in?
You don't have to shake it, but I do shake it. I don't know why. I think it's just habit. But look at cultured buttermilk. Do you know what that means? This means they did not actually churn the whipping cream to make buttermilk. What they did was, this is the same as making yogurt. The yogurt cultures, which is bacteria, which is in here, is what creates the acidicness of the buttermilk. And so all you're doing is culturing your own instead of having someone do it for you.
So the process you use is the same process they use?
Same exact process. This is all they do. They just put it in a warm place and make buttermilk. Yeah, out of regular milk. Okay, so this is 24 hours later. You can see it is nice and thick. Now, sometimes it does separate. Don't freak out. Just stir it up. This is basically the beginnings of yogurt is what it is. But now you've got your buttermilk. Just store this in the fridge. Save a half a cup. So like when your jar gets down to about here, yes, that's white paint. When your jar gets down to about here, just add your milk to the jar, unless you want a fresh jar and clean a jar, but add this much milk, this much buttermilk, set it out for another 24 hours, and you're good to go. Quickly doing this because I'm getting ready to head to the doctor, but I know this isn't a liquid measure, but it's just an estimate. It'll be fine. Getting my buttermilk stirred in until you have a loose dough, just like that. Then what you want to do is you want to knead in the rest of the flour until it's not too sticky. Now this is a little too sticky, so I'm going to take my flour that I have here. I'm just going to sprinkle a couple tablespoons and get that worked in. Just like that. Okay, now that's actually looking pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to dump it all on the counter here so that I don't waste this flour. Okay, and then, now you can roll it or whatever you want. I usually just pat it out just like that. I'm going to take my cookie cutter or my biscuit cutter. I love these cookie cutters. Look at that. Is that not the coolest thing? So I can pick whatever size I want. So if I want mini biscuits, I do this size. And if I want regular biscuits, I do this size or this size. But I think I'll do this size today, just because I haven't done this one for a while. Okay, and then you can put it on a greased cookie sheet or parchment paper. I use parchment paper because that's what most people do now, but normally if I'm just cooking for my family, it's just either a Silpat, which is a silicone liner, or grease my cookie sheet. Now here's another tip. If you want fluffy sides, put your biscuits close together. If you want crispy sides, pull them apart. Okay, what do you want, dear? Fluffy or crispy?
Crispy sides.
That's what I thought. See, do I know? After 30 years, I have finally figured it out.
I like the crispy, which is why Mike's biscuits use all butter.
In volume 1, Mike's baking powder biscuits. Super delicious. That is actually Mike's recipe. He perfected it. You did a good job perfecting it, dear.
Thanks.
Okay, then just knead it. Now, you don't want to over knead your biscuits because then they won't be flaky. You want them flaky. Okay, now I'm going to throw these in the oven and run to the doctor, and Mike is going to take them out, but you want it 475 degrees, I know that's really hot, for 8 to 12 minutes, and then we'll take them out of the oven. Okay? All right, now my handsome hubby is going to taste test. Are they delicious though, even though I forgot the butter?
There's nothing wrong with these.
Delicious biscuit.
Did you use part butter and part shortening? Because it's
Yep.
really fluffy, but just
did.
a slight amount of crunchy.
I did.
It's very delicious.
Yay.
Yay.
let's take a pause in the recipes for just a second and answer the question, are freeze-dried, do I use freeze-dried eggs, and are they cheaper than regular eggs? So I went to Amazon and I found the most popular eggs that they're selling, and it is $73, so $74, $73.98, so $74 for 72 servings of eggs. Now this had the same calorie count, so I'm assuming it's an equal amount that you exchange for since it's 80 calories for a serving. So that makes it right around $1, just slightly over $1 an egg. If I go to Walmart, right now they're $5.97. Oh my goodness. That is 50 cents an egg for an egg. So is it cheaper to buy the canned or the dried eggs? No, not even close. Now, I have used dried eggs and I love dried eggs. As a matter of fact, Mike and I used to use them all the time because what happened was when we moved to Idaho, 2 weeks after we moved there, they had the Idaho Panhandle floods in 1996. Go look it up. I went and looked it up because I was trying to make sure the date was correct because it was 2 weeks after we had just moved there. And we literally got cut off from the world. All of the roads had mudslides, were impassable. The flooding was awful. Until I just looked it up just now, I didn't know how really bad it was. It was really bad. I mean, I knew at the time it was bad. I just didn't understand how bad. And so we had to go get commodities because we lived on the Indian reservation and they gave commodities. So that's, for those of you who don't know, it's where the government buys food from farmers and then gives it to low income, the Indian reservations, that type of thing. So because we lived on the Indian reservation, we could go get the commodities. Well, we had no choice. We had just moved there. I had no stockpile at all. And all our roads were cut off and the only food we could get was the commodities from the Indian reservation. And let me tell you, I love those dried eggs. They were great. I love them for baking. And we got so many of them that I literally used those dried eggs for baking for years. I mean, they would just send us tons and tons of food. It was ridiculous. But I used it all and I am so thankful for it. And I am not going to be ashamed to say we got that because literally we could not get food anywhere. That's why I have my stockpile now, because I have been literally trapped for 2 months before they could get the road cleared. And what were we going to do? You know, it was awful. We had just moved there. Mike didn't have a job. We had no money. That was when we didn't have a refrigerator. And some of the meat that we had got was outside in a cooler and a cat got into it, but we ate it anyway. We cut off the cat part and ate that meat anyway. And so I fully appreciate all those commodities we got during that time because we were desperate. But are eggs cheaper to buy now if they're freeze-dried or dried? No, they are not. All right, so my next recipe is a mug cake. Now, we have a mug cake from scratch, if you want. That's my daughter's recipe in our Dining on a Dime Volume 1. This one that I'm showing you now uses cake mix. Mug cake. Now, first thing you're gonna wanna do is spray your pan. Now, what you can do is also just take a little bit of your oil if you want. Then we're gonna take our cake mix. Now, I just pour cake mix in a mason jar. Then when I wanna make just one mug cake, I can just scoop it out of there. You can write the directions on the lid if you want, if you forget. The instructions are, or the recipe is in the description below. Okay. Now I'm just going to stir this around until it gets all mixed together. Then we're going to microwave this for 1 minute to 1.5 minutes. It depends on how strong your microwave is. there is your delicious mug cake. Now, you probably want to let this cool for just a few minutes. So we're gonna let this cool, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes, and then we're gonna put on our frosting. Okay, I have my chocolate cake here and I'm frosting it. This is mug cake.
Oh, mug cake.
In a little bowl. I did a bowl
yum.
because our mugs weren't looking that spectacular,
Yum.
so.
It's all chocolatey and delicious looking.
You're Mr. Chocolate Man.
Mm-hmm. Mmm. That's really good.
And it's only one serving at a time.
That's really good.
So you don't have to eat the whole chocolate cake at once.
I thought the one serving was the spoonful that I just got. Is this another serving right here?
Well, the whole...
You mean the whole bowl is a serving?
Yeah, it's one cake serving.
Nice.
Pass the test. Maybe you should try again. Passes.
That's really good.
Yay!
That's really good.
It's kind of like a fudge cake.
It's really like a fudge cake. It's one of the best.
Oh wow, man! Yeah. It's getting better as it melds, huh? In your mouth.
Yep.
Well, it must.
I'm only supposed to try one spoonful, folks. So you know this is good.
All right, and then we also have coffee cake that we use as breakfast a lot of times. It doesn't use egg, and here's my recipe for that. I am making nothing because I have no flour. I gotta go downstairs and get flour. It's dead stove right here. And we are going to the stockpile room, aka my grocery store in my house. And I need flour. And do I have any sugar out? I do not have sugar out. And sugar. Okay. Here we go. Don't trip over the trash bag. Turn off the light. So I don't think I showed you guys what I ended up doing with my stairs in the back. I got this wallpaper. Is that not the most darn cute thing you ever saw? And then I got these little mice, which I thought were cute. And this is some wallpaper that cut out because I didn't have enough wallpaper for every single stair. So I put these little mice here, and then here's the stairs. And I absolutely love it. All the hard work that I went to was worth it. See, even got one there and there. And so here is what my back stairs look like for those of you who were asking like 2 years ago when I did this. So this was a piece of wrapping paper from a little gift shop here. It was $5. I loved it, so I framed it. And that I got for $10 at the Habitat Restore. Love that. And these I got for, I think it was $1 each at a garage sale. And this I got for, I think it was $1 or $5. I can't remember. But that's my stairs. Everyone thank Jeff, the cameraman. Are you the best cameraman in the whole wide world? Yes.
Yep.
Thank you, son. Okay, so you can see my containers are all messy. So before I refill, I'm going to shake these off in the sink. I could wash them. I might wash, yeah, I guess I'll wash them. I'm just going to wipe this out. Now this is how I keep my kitchen clean without doing a huge cleaning every whatever. I just clean as I go. Okay. There we go. Now we're going to refill our sugar and flour, and it will be all fresh. Okay, this sugar is from March of 2024, and this is February of 2025. So I've probably had this sugar 3 years, but It's a little hard. Let me show you how to soften it. I just pound it and it breaks it up. Then when I go to put it in my sugar container, it's all broken up. Oh man, not quite 10 pounds. I probably could if I really wanted to push it, but I probably won't. Okay, there we go. All fresh. Does that look all fresh?
Yep.
He's nodding.
Yes, it looks all fresh.
Thank you. Okay, I am making coffee cake. There's my flour. And my sugar. And my salt. And so I mix all my dry ingredients together first. And I've got my baking powder. And my shortening. Now, I like to use my fingers to mush up my shortening all around, but if you don't want to do that, you can just use a spoon and just keep pushing the shortening lumps into the flour until it all breaks up. Okay, then I need some milk. Okay, now, oops, got a couple of lumps of sugar because my sugar's got hard. Okay, now I'm holding back 3/4 cup of the flour mixture. And I don't have any regular milk, so I'm using my dry milk here. Okay. Yes, I know I should have gotten a bigger spoon, but didn't feel like dirtying another spoon, getting my mixture all together. Now this is like a thick pancake batter type mixture. Okay, got my pan. Spraying it. Put my batter in my pan. Just like so. Okay, now I'm going to take my butter or margarine, whichever you want. Margarine is a lot cheaper right now, so that's what I'm using. I'm going to melt my margarine. All right, got my butter and my cinnamon. And my brown sugar. And my topping. Oops, where'd my spoon go? Oh, there's my spoon. Okay, I'm gonna stir this all together. Then you're just gonna take your topping and put it all around. Now, another adaptation that I do when I'm feeling lazy is I just make the batter and add an extra, I just add the butter into the batter. And then what I do is I just take cinnamon and sugar and sprinkle it on top. That's how I do it the lazy man's way. Now, this has no eggs. So right now, while egg prices are super high, never seen egg prices this high in my life. There we go. Okay, so now we're gonna put this in the oven and let it bake at 350 degrees. The recipe is in the description below. Ooh, just dropped it. Lovely. Okay, I let my coffee cake go about 5 minutes too long, but oh my goodness, that looks so delicious. This is Boy's favorite. We're gonna let it cool and then we will taste test. Here's 10 substitutions you can make when you don't want to pay the ridiculously high prices for eggs right now. $9 for 18 eggs. I couldn't believe it when my daughter texted me and told me it was $9 for 18 eggs. That is the highest price I have ever seen for eggs, ever.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
So I'm gonna give you guys some substitution ideas for when you can't find eggs and you can still bake and cook with them. I bet you didn't know that, but you can. Number 1, applesauce. Applesauce is a great substitute for eggs. Use 1/4 of a cup of applesauce for 1 egg. 1 egg is approximately 1/4 cup. For all of these, you will have approximately 1/4 cup measure for all of them. Mashed banana. Now, if you don't want your product to have a banana flavor, well, okay, it may not work for this, but if you're making something like banana bread or even apple bread or anything like that, you could use 1/4 cup of mashed banana in place of eggs. Ground flax seeds. If you use ground flax seeds, it's 1 table ground flaxseed to 3 tablespoons of water. That makes 1/4 cup. You can find egg replacement at the Big Lots or at the health food store. All it is ground flaxseed, guys. So just get ground flaxseed if it's cheaper. Now, commercial egg replacers. They do have commercial egg replacers on the market. Usually it's a variety of potato starch and tapioca starch. Just look at the package, but those help leaven, which means rise, your breads, your pancakes, those types of things. So you can find just a commercial type egg replacement. Silken tofu. I know, I never would have thought of that one, but tofu, yes, you can use tofu as an egg replacement. Vinegar and baking soda. 1 teaspoon of baking soda to 1 tablespoon of vinegar is a replacement for most eggs. Yogurt or buttermilk, it's the acidity in these that helps stuff rise. You can use 1/4 cup, 1/4 cup, 4 tablespoons of buttermilk or yogurt. Also, arrowroot powder. I'm gluten-free, dairy-free, try to stay away from corn, so I use arrowroot powder for my thickening in my dishes like my green chili. Well, you can also use it in replacement for eggs if you can't find any eggs this week. Nut butters. Now, peanut butter, almond butter, you can substitute 3 tablespoons, just under 1/4 cup of nut butter for the eggs, and that will work also. Now, once again, this will give whatever you're making that slight flavor. So make sure it goes with it. You're not gonna want to put peanut butter in, say, cinnamon rolls. I mean, I don't know, I guess that might be okay. But, you know, use your common sense to figure out which one it's gonna go with. But, you know, if you think, oh, almonds would taste good in that, I guess almonds would taste good in cinnamon rolls. So yeah, that would probably work in cinnamon rolls. Or, you know, pancakes, you could do ground up almonds in pancakes. So something like that, that would taste good. Next is carbonated water. You know, soda water, it's the fizz that makes things rise. The baking soda that's in there, I think is what it is. The trapped air bubbles make it get fluffy, so 1/4 cup. And I'm giving you an extra bonus one of gelatin. Bet you didn't know that. Yes, gelatin, because it's a gelling agent, it helps bind everything together. So to use gelatin, just unflavored gelatin, or you could use the flavored if you want, if it go, like, you know, you could use orange for cinnamon rolls because that would taste good. Orange frosting cinnamon rolls are really good. You use 1 tablespoon of unflavored gelatin to 1 tablespoon of cold water, mix it, and then add 2 tablespoons of boiling water so that it's thoroughly dissolved and mixed until frothy, and then put it in your goods. Before we get to my bread recipes, I want to talk about raising chickens versus buying eggs. Now I will tell you, I was completely shocked with the results on this one. I had no idea it would cost this much. Oh my goodness. So I looked up owning your own eggs, and I went to the website mypetchicken.com, and I'll leave a link in the description below to the article that I used. And if I get my numbers off, I know someone will be more than happy to correct me, but I think I got my numbers right. So in this article, they said that it costs $633 for your startup costs for your chickens. Now, I could never find how many chickens they actually got, but we'll just say $95 for chickens, $45 for chicken heater, chicken feed $20 for a 50-pound bag, a feeder water $23, chicken coop $500. That's the low end. Now, I fully understand you can get all this stuff for way cheaper. I know on my upcycle they have heaters and coops and all that stuff for free all the time. My neighbor, she raises chickens, and she just put a tarp over her back deck that's raised up, and that's where her chickens raise. So I get that, but the average person is going to spend $633 setting up for chickens. Then they're going to spend $310 a year for chicken feed, supplements, and bedding is what they said. Now, they are going on, now this was from 2022, so the egg prices they're going on are only $4.25 a dozen instead of $6 a dozen. But they're going on 93 dozen eggs a family uses in a year. I don't even think I used 93 dozen when I had 7 people living in my house. A year? That's 2 dozen eggs a week almost. I mean, I guess maybe if you're on a keto diet or high protein diet or something like that, possibly. But I had Mike and 3 teenage boys and 2 girls. And we never went through that many eggs. So I don't know what they're smoking thinking you're going to go through that many eggs, but whatever. So I did the numbers for 52 dozen for 52 dozen eggs a year, just to make it easy across the board for calculating, okay? For 52 dozen at $6 a dozen now, that's $312 a year. But if you raise your own chicken, that is $212 a year, just for the feed and all that, not all your setup costs. So let's say it costs you around $700. I just rounded up. Let's just say it costs you $700 to set it up. That adds an additional, and let's say you have it for 10 years. That adds an additional $70 per year to your chickens over 10 years, okay? So we'll say you take that 212 and you add another $70, that is $282. So let's say you start with homegrown at $212. Let's say you round up to $700 because prices have gone up in the last 3 years since this article came out. So let's say we round up to $700. You divide that by 10 years. Let's say 10 years, your coop and all that lasts 10 years. I know most of them will last longer than that, but that gives you an extra, or that makes it $282 a year for a dozen eggs just for that. Now, what people don't think about is the care of the chickens. Now, I know I have raised chickens. I have raised chickens. For a year, we had chickens. And let me tell you, it is a pain in the butt to raise chickens, especially if you live somewhere with snow. And the summer of 1984, summer of 1984, I think, or I mean the year of 1984, when I was raising chickens, it was 83, 84, I think, they had some of the worst snow, and my brother and I were literally climbing 6-foot snowdrifts. This is how bad the snow was. Yeah, our chicken coop was free. It was an old one made of stone that they had put up 100 years ago. But we had to go out every day and water and feed the chickens. Mom did a lot of it, actually. Because my grandfather just insisted that we have chickens to save money. And you know what? It's about a half an hour's worth of work every day on your chickens. Now, I know you're going to say, oh, it's fresh and outside in the sunshine and all that. I get that. Let me tell you, it is still a lot of work. And with the snow that we're having right now, this is what it looks like out my window right now. It is currently 2 degrees. It's finally stopped snowing. You can see there's my bird bath. That's probably not quite, probably 20 inches, maybe 2 feet of snow on my bird bath there. So you can see there is a nice amount of snow here in Wyoming. This is a lot of snow. And if I was to have to go out and deal with chickens on the South 40, as we call it, I would not be a happy camper. But let's say you spend $5 of your time. Let's say you bring home $10 an hour. You make $20 an hour, you bring home $10. So it's a half an hour's worth of work. So let's say you're spending $5 worth of time doing the chickens. If you do that and add your time, which you should be doing, that means it's an extra $35 a dozen a week. Caring for chickens. That makes it $39.08 or $2,032 a year to raise chickens. Now, I know I'm going to have all these people, just like with the canning and the gardening, say, well, I don't count my time. That's fine if it's a hobby for you. But when people text and email me, they want to know what is the true expense. And the true expense is it is going to cost you $39 a dozen to raise chickens versus buy them at the store. Now, even if you don't add your time, it's still a matter of $312 versus $212 a year. So that's $2 a week that people are like, oh, it's so much cheaper, it's so much cheaper. It's $2 a week. That's a latte at Starbucks. It's probably half a latte now at Starbucks. But my point is, it's not that much money. I know eggs are ridiculously expensive, and I'm going to give you a bread recipe here in just a minute to show you how to make bread without eggs. But My whole point in this is to say, keep it in perspective. Do you want to be out in snow like this, dealing with chickens when they're not even laying eggs? Because chickens, for those of you who don't know, only lay eggs about 6 months out of the year. Because they go with how much light is in the sky. So in the winter, they don't lay as many eggs as they do in the summer. Now you can put artificial light and stuff like that in there. And I didn't even include the electricity to keep them warm and to keep their heaters going and their lights going. So when you're thinking about doing these things and you think, oh, this is great, this is just gonna be so nice and cozy and all that, make sure you have some perspective on how much it's really gonna cost you. And if it's your husband or kids want to do this, are they gonna actually follow through and do these things, okay? So that is the real cost of raising eggs. Okay, before I get to my last recipe, I wanna touch on one more thing. I know the nutrition value, people are gonna say, oh, but homegrown pasture-fed eggs are so much more nutritious. I get this baloney all the time. I get this all the time. And let me tell you, they are not. You can read all the studies and everything, but when you actually go look at the numbers, the amount that they are higher in omega-3s, higher in vitamin D and all that stuff is minuscule. It really is minuscule. So I went to the Walmart website and I looked at the pasture raised eggs, and they have 6% of your daily, they have 6% of your daily vitamin D. I went to the regular eggs at Walmart and they have, drum roll please, 6% of your daily vitamin D. The amount of fat is 5 grams. The amount of fat in the regular eggs is 5 grams. Same saturated fat is 1.5 for both of them. Calcium is 2% on the pasture eggs, and it is 2% for Walmart eggs. Then I went and looked at protein. Okay, you get 6 grams of protein in 1 egg. So I went and looked. For chicken, to get 6 grams of protein, it would cost you 26 cents an ounce versus 50 cents an egg. For chicken sausage, it would cost you 53 cents an ounce versus 50 cents for an egg. For a beef roast, it would cost you 50 cents an ounce versus 50 cents for the same amount in an egg. For sausage, it would cost you 60 cents per ounce versus 50 cents for an egg. And for fish, it would cost you 40 cents an ounce versus 50 cents an egg. So if you want, you can just go eat regular chicken instead of eggs if you're looking for your protein. So in that breakdown, it would be the regular boneless, skinless chicken breasts would be 26 cents an ounce, and then your fish, and then your roast and your eggs, and then your chicken sausage, and then your regular sausage if you break it down. So as far as actual protein amounts, that's how the breakdown is for the cost. Also, as I was editing, I forgot to add one thing. I do not like the taste of pasture-raised eggs. I think they are disgusting. So whenever I get free pasture-raised eggs, I just use them in my baking and then I don't taste them. But I cannot stand them for scrambled eggs. I think they are absolutely gross. So now I'm going to give you my next recipe. I am making some cheesy, no-knead bread for dinner tonight. A request from my son. All right, I got my flour in my bowl. And then my tablespoon of salt. And my yeast. And my hot water. Now, this is instant yeast, so it will take less time to rise. If you're using regular yeast, it will take about the time in the recipe, which is 2 hours. But don't worry if you have instant yeast. All this mixed together. Okay, now, I'm not gonna really knead it, just bring all of the rest of the flour into the dough. Mine is not as sticky as some of them are. Okay, and then I'm going to take my cheese. I don't know, about a cup or so of cheese, and just kind of squish it all in there. You're not really kneading, you're just getting the cheese all worked in there. So when you knead, it gets the gluten moving. This is more like doing biscuits where you're just getting your cheese all incorporated. There are no eggs in this recipe, so if you're at one of the times when there are egg issues because they're too expensive, this is a great bread to have that doesn't have eggs. Okay, so now we're gonna let that rise, and we're gonna come back and shape it. Okay, I have my dough here. Going to bring it down. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to just knead this. Well, I guess it's no knead, isn't it? But some of my cheese is falling out. Okay, back into a nice little ball. And we're gonna let this rise. And we're gonna take our Dutch oven and put it in the oven and let it heat up to 400 degrees. Okay, I have my pan all heated up and my bread has risen. Put it in there, and I'm gonna put the lid on and put it back in the oven. Okay, now I'm going to take the lid off. Oh, that looks very delicious. Okay, I'm gonna take the lid off and let it finish baking. Oh my goodness, that looks so delicious. Oh, wow, okay. Now we're gonna lift this out of the pan. Okay, then we are going to let this cool before we cut it. Wow, that looks so good. Okay, I have it all done. Now it probably should cool a little bit longer, but we're gonna be eating here, so I'm just going to get it done. Oops. And I probably should have got the cutting board instead of cutting through, but oh, look at that.
Sure smells good.
Maybe I should get the cutting board. I take too many shortcuts, I know.
That's why it only takes you 5 minutes to cook.
That's true.
So who's laughing now?
Me. Dave's cheesy bread. This is made especially for Dave. He loves cheese. Oh yeah. Mr. Taste Tester Man.
Ooh, here.
No need. Cheese bread. 5 ingredients, I guess.
Mmm.
Is it acceptable for dinner?
Mm-hmm.
Yay. If you want more ways to save money on your grocery bill, go watch How I Fed My Family for $20 a week and visit us at livingonadime.com. We will see you guys next time.